PacificBeerChat.com, part of the Hopped Up Network. Welcome. We've got Chelsea from Beautiful British Columbia, Steve from Mike's Craft Beer,
Hello.
Joe, the Thirsty Writer from the BC Ale Trail, and also writes Craft Beer Revolution.
Hello.
Today we're going to talk about the BC Ale Trail. I guess let's throw it to Joe. Could you just give us kind of a quick intro into what the BC Ale Trail is?
Yeah, for sure. So it's a project that is funded by Destination BC through its co-op marketing program. And basically the idea of it is to promote BC craft beer to tourists, within BC, people from within BC, as well as outside the borders. I think of it as I want to tell everybody out there how great the craft beer is here in BC, add it so that they'll add BC to their bucket list for places to travel to check out in search of craft beer. So we launched almost a year ago now. We launched last October 2016 during BC Craft Beer Month. And we launched, I can get into more detail later about how it all works, the logistics behind it, but we basically launched with 8 different regions represented, different parts of BC included. And then we've been adding another 8 regions over the course of this year. And hopefully next year we'll kind of finish out filling out the whole map of BC. And yeah, it's been really fun. It's been a really, really exciting experience so far to work on this project.
Perfect. I guess, where did the idea come from originally? I mean, we all do road trips and stuff, but...
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's kind of a natural thing, a natural evolution in the sense that we hear about a new brewery, and most of us who are excited about beer want to go travel there right away and see what they're like and experience it. So it came kind of a natural evolution out of that for sure. But then, in a sense too, as I was touring around, after my book first came out in 2013 and in the intervening years after that, I got to travel around and visit a lot of the province and experience a lot of places, and I realized that I was starting to kind of act like an ambassador for BC craft beer a lot. I was out there talking to the media and doing all that sort of stuff. So to me, it seemed like a really good idea to expand that even greater and to have some sort of platform to do that with. Now, I didn't have the resources to do that on my own, but when a few of us heard about this co-op marketing program, and basically it seemed like the logical choice to make an application to it, and so we ended up hooking up with the BC Craft Brewers Guild, and it basically became their project. So the Craft Brewers Guild is the organization behind it all, and a few of us working with them to produce the website and all the materials that get put up on it, and all the tours and everything. So it just kind of evolved through the way that the way that the program works, and through kind of the idea that I wanted this platform to kind of proclaim BC's wonderful craft beer scene. I guess that's in a nutshell. Yeah.
I guess your book was kind of the original Ale Trail when you were doing all the tours for your material for your first book, hey?
Yeah, it's exactly the way I see it. It kind of led me down the path to here. It got me to where the the BC Ale Trail is like the culmination of what I started with my book, and that's really exciting. Yeah, and it just continues to be so much fun, traveling around and checking out all the new places, and now I feel like I have a whole team of people to work with, though, which makes it even more exciting.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. So maybe I'll give you a little more detail about how it all works. Each region in that we add as an ale trail, so-called ale trail, gets a video shot that we send out a video team to shoot video and photography at all the breweries and the local sites and activities. We produce this really, really slick professional video for each region. The tourism people in those regions can then use that video as well to do their own promotion, which is something they really like, to have content like that. Goes out on YouTube, goes out through all kinds of social media channels. We design an itinerary around the breweries and activities in the regions, but it's not like you have to do that itinerary. You can branch off and choose to do whatever you like. And I do all the write-ups for the breweries with a little bit of assistance from Jan Zeschler, Mishki now, who's helping out with some of the regions. So I write a special blurb about each brewery. I write a blurb about the regions themselves, and we have partners in the social media world that are doing all kinds of stuff behind the scenes with digital stuff. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like, sending things out through various channels of Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all the rest of it, getting lots of traction that way. And we work with a PR company to help promote us through traditional, media lines as well, which is getting us a lot of traction as well. And we're starting to do events, which is a new thing for us. I went to Milwaukee a couple of weeks ago for a beer bloggers conference, and I did a presentation there about the BC Ale Trail. So that was a lot of fun. We're going to be at the P&E Craft Beer Garden or whatever it's called. We're going to have a booth there for a week as well. So we'll be pouring some beers from some of our breweries that are on the Ale Trail and talking it up and, handing out flyers and just trying to spread the word as well. Yeah. So getting the word out.
That's awesome.
What regions are on the Ale Trail now?
Yeah. So we launched last year with, I have to look at my list because it's hard to remember. We launched last year with Victoria, Nanaimo and the Comox Valley, the Sunshine Coast, Port Moody, which we jokingly call our micro ale trail there, Brewers Row, Whistler, the Kootenay Rockies in 2 different groupings, East and West. And then this year we've been adding another 8. So far this year we've added Penticton, as you know very well there, Chelsea, Kelowna, the Fraser Valley, New West, Delta, and Surrey in kind of a grouping, the North Shore, like North Vancouver, Squamish, and then another kind of one with Nanaimo in the mix involving Cowichan Valley and Parksville, Qualicum Beach. And then we're going to add Vancouver this fall, and that's the big one. That's like taking tons and tons of work to figure out how to make that all happen. So
I bet that almost needs to be an East and West or something.
Well, we're going to actually have 4 days. It's going to be one package, but it's going to be spread out over 4 days. So you can kind of, and even so, it'll be unrealistic for someone to really do 4 days of 4 breweries each day. I mean, some of us could do that.
I know someone who did almost every brewery in Vancouver in a weekend. So
yeah, there you go. Yeah, the dedicated beer geek will figure it out for sure.
Oh, so. For sure.
Yeah. And then next year, if all goes well, none of this is confirmed yet, but next year, if all goes well, we want to do the North, which is a big thing as well, a big project to cover all that territory, of course. Yeah. And then we want to add places like, Tofino, Ucluelet's got a brewery in the works, and a new one just opened in Port Alberni. So that kind of trio will be a good ale trail there. We hope to add Souk. There's a couple in Souk now that one's open and one will be open soon.
Yeah.
And then there's little pockets like Burnaby and now these new Coquitlam breweries. So that could be a good little pairing, maybe. Richmond. Here and there, there's other little pockets, Kamloops, things like that we want to fill in the map with some, because there's lots of great breweries left there that we haven't covered. So, and
actually, I'd say the North is exciting too, because I did notice there's a couple new ones coming in the near future. I think isn't there a Fort St. John one coming up?
Wow, I haven't heard of that. Good.
Yeah, there are some new ones.
That's great. There's a bunch across the map up there already, and then that new one in Prince George opened. I think there's another one on the way in Prince George.
Trench, right? Is it?
Yeah.
Trench is coming.
So it's just happening everywhere, and we want to make sure that that they're all getting the attention they deserve.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess the nice thing is as the industry grows, so does the ale trail. Like, it's not something that's sort of like, I guess when you write an article about something or a website, like it kind of stays static, right? But this will be growing with the industry as long as it keeps going.
Yeah, it's true. I've already started, going through and tweaking things that we launched with last year a bit. I shouldn't say we have been. It's not just me, the team I work with, where, adjusting some of the existing ale trails to reflect some of the changes that have happened or the new breweries. I do go through and try to keep the database of breweries up to date. I just added a bunch of ones that are going to open soon. So we're hoping that our brewery database will be recognized as the most, current and complete, comprehensive listing of breweries in BC. And we have a blog, so we also publish not not weekly, but 2 or 3 blogs a month, written by a variety of BC's best beer writers, and we we also have an event database, so we try to keep that up to date with things that are happening. So yeah, it's meant to be kind of the go-to resource for BC craft beer as much as possible. And yeah, like you say, Chelsea, we can kind of tweak it to keep it dynamic and up to date and fresh. Yeah, much more so than my book, which is vastly out of date.
Get on that.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a little busy.
On that note, do breweries actually start contacting you, or like have they started reaching out to you, or is this still you finding out about new things and trying to keep up with?
Yeah, for sure, half and half. I'd say we get a lot of interest. I just sent out I sent out a request for information to some of the new breweries that are opening, like the ones in Coquitlam, for instance, and they sent us the info. Like we have a Google form that they fill out with info, and then so we get it in our database. But then they're asking, well, how do we get on this ale trail? We want to get a video, and I'm like, yeah, well, here we go. Let's talk about it. Here's here's how it all works, kind of thing. So yeah, we do get a lot of interest from existing breweries that see the website. We also get interest from the destination marketing organizations themselves, the DMOs. They all talk to each other. So the guy, someone in I don't know, for instance, in Kamloops might talk to someone in one of our existing regions and say, well, how did you get into this program? It looks really good, and we want to get involved. So, I mean, that's another way that things link up that way. And some of the DMOs are just so excited about their craft beer scenes already, and they've been promoting them already. So this is just a good, additional step they can take.
For sure. I mean, with the ale trails not only being about the breweries, how do you choose some of the other businesses that you add to the lists there?
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good question, because up until now we've kind of just chosen them based on what we know and what we like and what we think is a good side step to take. Like if you're in Victoria, for instance, it's a logical choice to go to a place like the Drake, right? Because it's a great craft beer tap house. Up until now, we've just kind of done that out of our own choice. But I think as we move forward, we're going to have to start really figuring out a way to integrate them in the platform and in a way, where they're investing in it as well. Because we can't just kind of give all these people free publicity and then make the breweries pay to be involved, for instance. So we're still sorting that out, and hopefully we'll get that all worked out in the near future so we can, move ahead in 2018 and onward from there.
Year 3 problems.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and I think another thing I should bring up is, there's a lot of ale trails, so-called ale trails out there. Like a lot of different regions and cities have them, but most of them are really, I would argue, are really, they're often like a really basic kind of thing where it's passport driven. You have like a print brochure and you go and get stamps or something at breweries, and that's great. That's fine. That's wonderful. But we're trying to take it up a notch and really make this as a resource that'll give anybody from anywhere all the information they'll need to plan a vacation around traveling to BC and experiencing the beer scene here. So not just a beer geek either. I think when you look at our videos and you look at the content that we're providing, I think we're attracting people from all walks of life and just opening them up to the idea of, I should plan a trip to BC around beer, not just to go to Whistler and Victoria or something like that, right?
Well, I noticed that with the website, which is nice because when you're planning to go to a place you've never been before, like having a suggestion for the pub or for where to go for lunch or an interesting thing to see along the way really helps, because there is so much information out there, but it's sometimes hard to sort through it. So especially if somebody knows what your tastes are as a beer drinker, it's nice to have it already sort of done for you. So I did notice that. I really enjoyed that when I was looking at some of the trails this spring. So I was over on the island and in Vancouver. So.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, we also, we work hand in hand with the local destination tourism body to plan those itineraries out. So they often provide a lot of that info about the other activities and the other things to do. And then we also, our video production team, it's 2 people basically, Jeff and Karolinka, who have probably visited more breweries than any of us in the last year or so. It's pretty amazing. They've covered, a lot of the province, and certainly more than I have in the last couple of years. And they know a lot about beer now too. And I mean, they were already interested in it before they started, but they've become experts. And so they provide a lot of input into our are planning for the different itineraries and so on, just through their own experiences when they go to these regions. So that's pretty cool too.
And their videos are actually really well done. I think the one for Penticton just won an award at the Peach Festival for they have like a mini film festival. So that was kind of cool. Like I know a few of the local people here, like Kim Lawton, was involved and stuff. So it was nice to see that sort of spin off as well from it.
Yeah, it's very exciting to see it win an award. That was great. I think I voted for it too.
Nice.
Nice.
Why not, eh? Do what you got to do.
Yeah, for sure.
I only voted
Yeah.
once, though. It's not like the All-Star game or something.
Did I hear too that there might be a chance that there's going to be advertising, like down in Washington or Oregon or something with this, like at least print or something?
Yeah, we hope to. We still haven't figured that all out. We want to visit events. We want to go down there and go to events, but it's hard because you can't really bring beer across the border very easily and serve it there. So that would be a challenge. And without beer, you don't necessarily get a lot of attention.
Yeah.
We do promote ourselves. We do advertise through social media channels south of the border. Like we target a lot of our social, like Facebook advertising and things like that, to various regions. I think our main regions are Washington, Oregon, San Francisco area, and then in Canada it's like BC and Alberta mainly, although we do reach a little bit further, but the main focuses for Tourism BC, for Destination BC, are those areas, so we follow along with that. But then we also have had we've worked with some existing publications like was it All About Beer, or another one, I think a different one of those other American publications, to do some sponsored content with them as well. So we're reaching audiences in a variety of places. But yeah, we're still expanding on that, about different ways to advertise. We were looking into the Amtrak Cascades train. We were looking at the Bolt bus for options of things to do. We haven't necessarily done it yet, but we've looked into that. And and then here in BC, we actually advertise in the Growler and in What's Brewing and so on, and try to do our best to keep our presence out there as much as possible.
Because that's probably the most important thing, is you can build this all up, but if no one sees it, there's no point. So you got to make sure that it's getting out there in the world.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we've had really good traction online. We've had great attention right from the get-go, and we've been getting tons and tons of attention through all of our new ale trails as they launch. The local media helps because they get excited. We send out a press release to each region, when we launch a new ale trail, and yeah, it's been going really well. I think statistically, the Port Moody one has gotten the most attention, and then the Kootenays has done really well, and Sunshine Coast as well. So there's a lot of stats we see from behind the scenes, and it's pretty cool to see how much attention we're getting.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think my favorite ale trail is probably the Port Moody one. Only because if you're within bus distance from a ferry terminal, the YVR airport, any SkyTrain, you can get there without driving, which is amazing now.
Yeah. It's a good one, all right. Sorry, I'm pouring a beer.
No, that's perfect.
It's the key lime milkshake IPA from Dead Frog.
Oh, I just had that recently.
It smells really good. Wow. As I opened it, I could smell it. Nice. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the Port Moody one is such a cool one. I mean, it's the obvious choice for so many people because it's 4 breweries in a really cool area, and you can walk it, you can take the SkyTrain, all that stuff.
2.5 blocks.
Yeah, exactly. I wonder if there'll ever be another one there. Eh? That'd be interesting, or somewhere else in Port Moody. Like that's kind of funny to imagine, but I guess
there has been talk of possibly either a cidery or a distillery in that little stretch there. So there could be more booze, if not beer.
Yeah, that'd be a good addition for sure. But if you look at some of the other regions, they places like Penticton, it's a pretty small community, and there's 4 or 5 there as well. And Kelowna has a nice little scene suddenly happening after all
Yeah.
these years, which is great. I'm a big fan of the Courtney Cumberland triangle myself. You know, I love Cumberland, and I love Gladstone, and Forbidden is a lot of fun too. So it's a living on the island. That's kind of when I think about going somewhere. That's usually where I'm headed. I just went to Parksville and Qualicum Beach for the first time, a couple months ago, and that's a cool little scene as well. With those two new breweries there, and then
Yeah.
even though Port Alberni isn't on the Ale Trail yet, the new brewery in Port Alberni is excellent. So I'm a
Which one's
big
that
fan.
again?
Twin City.
Okay, Twin City, yes.
Not Twin Sails, but Twin
Yes.
City. And it's great. I mean, it's a nice young couple. Well, the guy basically who's running it, but locals that grew up there, went away to school, came back with the intention of building a local business, and he's done a really good job. It's a great little brewery, nice beer, pizza restaurant that's really good. Part of a really nice little kind of entrepreneurial scene, I think, that's happening in Port Alberni right now, which is great. So yeah, I mean, I can't wait to get back there sometime. I was really happy with my visit there.
Nice. Yeah, I haven't been there in a while, but I did like it.
And Riot Brewing in Chemainus, any of you guys been there yet? It's great as well.
I've had the Junk Punch IPA.
Yeah, I went.
Yeah.
I went over and did all of the island breweries, I think maybe 3 years ago, and there's so many more now. I did this sort of circle tour. I can't remember what it was. Anyways, it must have been 3 or 4 years ago, and it felt doable. But now you'd have to have 2 weeks basically out there and do that. So
Exactly. Yeah.
definitely, which is great. I'm not complaining, right? It's so nice to have more options, and really lovely, I think, for a lot of these small communities to be on that map and be participating as well. So right on.
Well, if you get a chance to get over to Riot, it's a purpose-built building as part of this, retail development that they got involved with. It's a really beautiful space. They've got a great patio outside. They've got good beers, just a great vibe. Chemainus is kind of it's not the most progressive town in terms of craft beer, so they're still getting their customers, still like they said to me, it's usually it's either full inside or it's full on the patio, not both yet, but they're working on it. They're doing their best, and they're doing lots of events. I was there just on a Tuesday or something when I was visiting them, and suddenly all these musicians started showing up on the patio and started playing, just jamming. And it's like a regular thing they do called Ruby Tuesday, which is like the jam session with local musicians. But it's a great idea because it means they bring people in and they start buying beer and they get familiar, and suddenly they'll be back on a Friday night, right? So it's a good way to kind of spread the word.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm excited about Souk when the new brewery in Souk opens, because there's one there right now. It's just a little one, Souk Oceanside Brewery, but it's a cool little spot. But then the other one is going to be, again, a purpose-built building and really nice space. So that'll suddenly create a little scene in Souk. And we've got a new brewery coming in Victoria too, Ile Sauvage, Wild Island.
Well, that's how you say it.
It's going to be, the way he told me is it's going to be mainly barrel aged stuff. So he's only going to have a couple of stainless steel fermentation tanks, and otherwise he's going to be putting beer into barrels right off the bat and moving them through quickly. He's got some methods, he says, where he can get them soured or get them aged within a few months rather than waiting a few years, kind of thing. And so he's going to be basically using, barrels as his primary fermentation vessel, is the way he put it. So
Nice.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. And it's going to be in Rock Bay near near Drifted and Hoyne, and near that area there, and the Moon Underwater, in what used to be a Pizzeria Prima Strada. So should be a good space as well. And he's hoping to open, late September kind of thing. So we'll see.
Nice.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I was a little bummed out. I was over on the island couple months back, and I was gonna go out to the brewery in Souk, and then didn't look at what days they were open, and the day we were going they weren't open, so it kind of screwed up the plan. But what can you do?
Yeah, they're pretty small. So I think they're doing a little contract brewing now with Victoria Caledonian, which brews the Twa Dogs stuff here, the Twa Dogs brand here in Victoria. So I think they've got a little more quantity now available than they did originally, because it's just a really tiny brewing system, right? They don't have a lot of capacity, but that should help them for sure.
Nice.
Yeah. And Phillips is adding a tasting room here, which is great, and which is funny because Matt Phillips told me point blank a couple of years ago that he never would, but that's fine. He changed his mind. He's acknowledged that.
I heard that too.
But it's been delayed a lot. I think they had some problems. They basically bought this little building that's connected to their brewery building. Basically, it was an old pet grooming place or something. And what I've heard through the grapevine is that they encountered some issues when they started renovating, so that's taken a lot longer. But when they get it done, it should be as slick as anything you guys have over there in Vancouver. So
yeah, renovations are terrible.
Yeah.
I guess the BC Ale Trail is probably best for the smaller towns and the smaller areas. Why don't we maybe even just talk about the Kootenays or something, because that is probably one of the most beautiful drives, one of the nicest areas of BC for not just the beer, but just the tourism in general.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've watched those videos over and over again because I haven't been out there in a few years now since the last time I was touring with my book, and it's just so spectacular everywhere you go. And these breweries are all in these amazing towns that have these each is kind of their own unique feel, their own unique vibe. And Nelson has blossomed, for instance, as a destination. Last time I was there was just was still when it was just Nelson Brewing, and now suddenly there's Torchlight and what is it?
Back Roads.
Back Roads?
Yeah,
not Back Roads. Yeah.
Yeah. And the brew pub in the hotel there too. Yeah.
Savoy, right?
So suddenly there's 4 different options there, and it's a whole cool scene. I mean, Nelson was great before all that, but that's just awesome now to add that into the mix.
It's a really hip little town too. It's young, whereas a lot of the towns in the Kootenays seem to be a little older. That's one of the towns that's really young and really kind of happening. It's kind of neat.
I agree. And then we've got, places like Rossland and Kimberley and Fernie, obviously, and Invermere. I haven't been to the new one in Golden yet, White Tooth.
Is it open already?
Yeah, I think
so. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't get to go there when I went through Golden. It wasn't quite open yet either. But they also have am I thinking of Golden? Darn, I can't remember. Maybe it was Revy. They have a really nice craft beer bar out there. So we were looking to stop at the brewery, but went to this bar. But now I think it might have been Revelstoke and not Golden. It's a long drive. I got mixed up. But anyways, it's nice that you're starting to find the quality craft beer in these small communities where before you would go into the liquor store and there was Bud or Kokanee, right? And now it's really refreshing when I'm on vacation, when I'm going camping. I have some options for some good stuff. And this is only over the course of the past couple of years that we're really seeing it spread. Even the fact that, Prince Rupert has a craft brewery and they have a really, really good craft brewery there. Valemont has a really good craft brewery, right? Mm-hmm. It's just really exciting to see that change happening. And I think for the most part, a lot of people are embracing it. Otherwise, these breweries wouldn't stay open, right?
No, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, across the board, every time I talk to these people, they're raving about how much the local community has just welcomed them and has jumped on board, and the same kind of thing we've been seeing ever since Townside opened in Powell River 5 years ago, where you had a place that was just not into craft beer at all, and they just, as soon as the local brewery opens, everybody suddenly is I want to support my local business. They get into the growler thing, they all get excited, and suddenly everybody becomes craft beer aficionados in these little communities. It's great. I think it's wonderful. And then before you know it, there'll be a second brewery and a third one, and
Well, I know me and Chelsea
and a cidery. And...
Yeah, exactly.
Me and Chelsea were just in Rossland, or we were in the Kootenays not too long ago, and we were at Rossland Brewing Company or Rossland Beer Company, and they were going about. They love when us city guys come out there and visit, but the bulk of their business is just the locals, about as far as Nelson, and that's about it. That's all they really care about. That's what they can serve, and it's great for their business.
Yeah, I was just looking at the Trail Beer Refinery site a few weeks ago because I was doing a write-up about them, and it looked like an amazing place. I don't know if any of you guys have been to that one yet, but
I was
That's
just going
awesome.
to mention them, and like they have a really different vibe because Trail's like a really industrial sort of town, and so the brewery went after that market. They didn't make it this really hipster sort of thing, right? But I think like they're serving pretty easily accessible beer, and they're serving really good food. And when we went there, like Mike and I were in there, and the place was packed. You know, we couldn't have sat down and gotten dinner there. It would have been,
Nope.
yeah. Anyways, it's just really really cool to see in a town where you know you might think Trail maybe compared to Nelson or Rossland, Trail's a little bit rough around the edges, and yet this community has really gotten into the beer scene because of the way that the brewery marketed themselves towards that. So
Yeah, that's great. That's great to hear.
And I mean, I'd say that the episode that we recorded on Trail Beer Refinery was one of the ones that was listened to the most so far.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
they're really supporting because there was a lot of social media push just from Trail itself.
Right on. And I go back to that one out in Invermere too, Arrowhead, which they opened right around when my first book came out, and it felt like they're in the middle of nowhere, I like that. I like Invermere. I don't mean to say that it's in the middle of nowhere, but they felt really separate from everybody else. Like that's the way they felt too, because they just felt like there was no contact with the outside beer community really there.
Yeah.
And they just stepped up and built up their local community. And now I think in the last year or so, they've started shipping beer farther out. And I've always liked their beer. I've always liked the vibe when I've gone there, and they're just great people as well. So yeah, it's exciting.
They're not totally in the middle of nowhere. They're sandwiched between two hot springs, so you got a good spot to be.
Oh, it's a beautiful spot. I would again. I wish I could go there more often. It's just too far for me with the ferries and everything else.
Yeah. You got to make it an official business thing.
Totally, yeah. I'm due to go back out there. It's been a while.
You should hit up next year's East Kootenay Beer Festival then.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I've been there, and it was a lot of fun for sure.
I enjoyed it a lot.
Remember, don't drink in the hot springs.
What was that?
Just remember, don't drink in the hot springs.
It depends on that beer fest weekend. It seems to get go over a little easier.
Just a small one. Just a small glass.
Plastic cups.
Yeah.
Or you can find the natural hot springs, and that is totally acceptable there. And I did drink a lot of Arrowhead beer on the weekend that I spent there. So
nice.
There's a way to have beer in a hot springs. You just don't go to Fairmont.
Yeah, exactly.
Although on the weekend of the beer fest, at the end of the night, they actually drain the hot spring pool so they can get people out of there because they're drinking so much in the pool.
That's too bad.
It was pretty late when they drained it.
Nice.
Man. Well, is there? Why don't we talk a little bit about the Okanagan Ale Trails? I guess now because you got the Kelowna one as well. The Okanagan's a great place to go, especially in the summer when it's nice and warm. If it's
it is.
If it's not burning.
Indeed. Well, yeah. I mean, I've been I've been well connected with the Penticton scene for a long time because I've been going out to Festivale now for like 5 years in a row and participating, doing events and as a judge and all that. And so I've always been a huge fan of the Penticton scene, and it's only gotten better and better as places like, Bad Tattoo and now Highway 97 have opened, and Tin Whistle has expanded and so on. So it's a great spot. And then Kelowna, it's always been this weird kind of like, why doesn't Kelowna have more craft beer? I don't get it. And then suddenly it does, which is great. Because, BNA is a spectacular spot.
Yes.
I had some friends visiting Kelowna from Winnipeg, and I told them to go to BNA, and they sent me a text while they were there saying, "Oh my God, thanks for telling me to go here. It's awesome," because it's such a cool space, and they've got great food. Like they got a great chef, they've got great food and great beer mixed, and it's great vibe. So, and then suddenly you got like cool spots like Kettle River, which is making all kinds of really interesting beer and doing it their own way and building at a pace that they can afford to do without, getting tied into the banks too much and all that stuff. And
homemade equipment.
Yeah, but they're doing it right, and they're putting beer in barrels, and that's a lot of fun. And then Boundary, Ollie is a hilarious guy. He's a great guy. What a character! And brings some really cool beers. I love the German focus he's got going out there in his brewery. And and then I haven't been there. Red Bird just opened across from Tree, and it looks cool. I met with the guy when I was there in the spring, and it's basically the smallest brewery in BC. It's like the whole brewery is in what's the equivalent of a tasting room for most breweries. I don't know how that's going to work, but whatever. He's doing it. So
I look forward to actually trying the
Yeah, I
beer.
heard an update. They had the doors open last week. I heard an update from a friend in Kelowna, and she went in, but they didn't have any of their beers on tap yet. So they had a couple really good guest taps. So I don't know if they're going to continue with guest taps as well as their own beer, just because I'm sure if you're brewing in such a small space, it's going to be hard to have a lot of taps, right? So
yeah,
I'll be curious. Next time I go up there to go shopping, I'll have to stop in. I usually go to Costco once a month and then do a little brewery tour before I go home. So
Nice.
yeah. And B&A just bought the building next door, or at least rather the building next door, and they're going to be putting a bowling alley, which is really cool. I was just there a couple weeks ago playing bocce with some girlfriends. And we played bocce until like whenever they turn the lights on and made everybody go home. But it's so cool now to have this instead of sort of I don't want to diss Kelowna really bad. I used to live there quite a long time ago, and the nightclub scene was a little trashy. You know, like I think that some people, if you've ever been there like 10 years ago, yeah, there's a lot of bros, right? But now it's just really nice. You're seeing Kelowna growing up a little bit, and they have these really cool things to go and do. And I actually, you know, more and more I'm finding myself being charmed by Kelowna, which I wasn't when I used to live there. So super cool. And then B&A, Kettle River just got their patio.
Oh, great.
Oh, did they finally? Good.
Yeah, they've been waiting so long for that.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's fully licensed as of like if the licensing was in the works. They were going to be having an opening any day now, but I saw the picture of the patio table set up. So I think that hopefully that means it's fully licensed now, but if not, it should be like imminent. So they're all doing really great up there. And then now in West Kelowna, there's Kind Brewing, which I think isn't open yet, but will be soon. And a friend of mine's also looking at a brewery in West Kelowna. So all of a sudden, the scene in the North Okanagan is just exploding, right? Vernon's also got a lot going on right now. So it's kind of nice. Penticton has some company now in Okanagan.
Summerland
Christy
too?
Clark looking for a new thing to do?
We don't want her.
I was going to go back. Chelsea, did you say they're putting a bowling alley in next door to B&A? What's that?
Yeah.
B&A is putting in
a bowling alley.
Like in the building where it was like a motorcycle shop or something?
So the motorcycle shop is going to stay there, but it used to be Flashbacks nightclub. And so I don't know how it's going to work. I think downstairs is still going to be like retail space. And then upstairs is going to be the bowling alley. I'm not sure. But I did hear they're going to keep the motorcycle shop, and then they're going to have another retail spot. They might use some of the space downstairs, I'm wondering, to expand the brewery.
Yeah, I think
but yeah, there's going to be bowling.
Well, they already have expanded the brewery downstairs in the building next door, it sounds like.
Yeah, they actually run pipes over the motorcycle shop. So they have like the brew house is in the original space. They kind of laugh because, you know, I visited them before they were open, and they were showing me around the inside, and they showed me where the brewery was going to be in the restaurant. And I'm like, the brewery, that's really small. Like, that's the brewery, that whole thing is the brewery. And they're like, yeah, it'll be fine. And when I visit this, you know, again, I've been there a couple of times since then, but the last I visited, they're like showing me the pipes that run across the motorcycle shop over to the next unit over where they have their new fermentation tanks. They're expanded, you know, that they expanded with, and they're like laughing and saying, you told us we didn't do it the right way.
Yeah,
whatever. It's fine.
And they also have some beer brewed elsewhere too to help them keep up.
Probably. I think, you know, I thought I heard
that the place is packed.
Yeah, it's a great place.
And they do really cool beers. Like, they do a lot of inventive, creative stuff. They're not just putting out really generic things. You know, they do interesting things, like radical, kind of unique things all the time. And I think that's exciting for Kelowna. Chelsea, I'm glad you're the one who kind of dissed it, because I don't want to be the outsider, you know, making fun of it. But
and I mean,
that's kind of what I felt like for a while too. So,
Steve, isn't one of your favorite beers made at B&A?
Yeah, I absolutely love their Earl Grey IPA, and you're nice enough to bring me back a 4-pack every time you're up there.
Nice.
I'm seriously looking forward to getting a growler when we're up there in like 10 days.
Yeah, for my wedding. Yeah, it's coming up really quick.
Oh, yeah. What beer are you serving at your wedding, Mike?
I don't know yet. We're working on that with the hotel.
What are you talking about? How can you not know yet?
I thought that was planned. I thought that was sad.
No, when you're working with hotels, you don't always get to choose exactly what you want.
Yeah,
So
true.
we're working on that.
It better not be Budweiser or something.
Don't worry. We'll probably all walk out if it's Budweiser.
Yeah, exactly.
Your
That should
wife
be
will-
like,
Just get all your guests to bring growlers.
yeah, exactly. So under their jackets, sneak them in.
Yeah, exactly.
You want the
Yeah.
extra money for reasons.
It's a bottle share.
That would be an amazing idea, actually.
Yeah, I'm sure. I bet you that lots of Beer Geek weddings have been bottle shares at this point. It would make sense.
Yeah, exactly.
When I got married, which was like 2004, we did Lighthouse, because we got married here in Victoria, even though we were in Vancouver. We did Lighthouse. What's it called? I can't remember now. Oh my god, that's embarrassing. The dark one, like the amber one they do. What's it called? Oh man. Oh well. It'll come to me in a minute. It's just escaping me. Anyway. You can edit this out, right?
I could, yeah.
I'm just teasing. Fine. And actually, speaking of bottle shares, when I went to that bloggers thing in the bloggers conference in Milwaukee, it was really neat because the first day we start, it's a conference, so it starts at like 10 a.m. or whatever, and we're listening to the keynote speaker and talking, and suddenly I started hearing bottles opening, and I'm looking around, and everybody has brought coolers of beer with them. So all the tables, people are just sharing beers from wherever they're from, And I didn't bring anything because I was the newbie and I had no idea. And I also thought, well, I can't bring beer from BC, but I totally could have. I could have brought like a bag full of beer or whatever. I just never thought of that.
Next
so I
year.
got to drink. Yeah, for the 2-3 days of the conference, you're just drinking beer all day from all these crazy places all over the States. It was really wild. And then at night, after we go out to all these breweries and do all these things, then everybody goes back to their hotel rooms and has bottle share parties all night. So it was quite a scene. It was pretty
Oh
cool.
my god.
I want to make it there one
Sounds
year.
amazing.
Yeah, you guys should all go. It's a great event. It really is.
I'm just hoping it's closer
I would
to
really
BC.
like to get it up here in BC one day, but I don't know. We'll have to work on them to persuade them of
Well,
that.
at least Seattle. Like, that's easy.
Totally, yeah. I think next year is going to be it was like South Carolina or something like that. I can't remember, somewhere around there, or Virginia, somewhere around there.
Yeah,
but,
I can't remember.
And but yeah, I'll have to work on them to bring it out to the West Coast. I think they did Portland 2 years ago or 3 years ago, though. So, but Seattle would be perfect, or
Yeah.
Bellingham.
Well, that'd be better, yeah.
I mean, Bellingham's got a great scene too, so it'd be great for the conference. Yeah.
The only problem is Bellingham doesn't have a lot of hotels compared to Seattle or a bigger town like that.
Yeah, but Seattle's really expensive for hotels, whereas Bellingham has, cheaper hotels. And I just stayed in that new, what is it, Holiday Inn or whatever by the airport when I was there. So, yeah.
Nice. I guess.
Anyway, we should talk about BC.
Yeah, no, we should. I guess, why don't we, just before we finish up, why don't we discuss the Squamish and kind of, was there Whistler as well, or is it just Squamish? I can't remember now. Yeah, Squamish and
Whistler's
Whistler
in there.
trails. Because I know they're some of my favorite places, not even just for beer, but just some of my favorite places to go. Like, the hiking is
Yeah.
amazing, skiing's amazing. Maybe talk about some of the breweries there.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we launched with Whistler in the first year, although it's one of the only ones that doesn't have a video, and it's hard to explain why, but they just don't have a video. But they do have, the full coverage of all the breweries there. And yeah, Whistler has, I've always thought that the brew pub in Whistler, the brew house, is really underrated. People don't really know how good the beer is there. It's Derek, the brewer there, has really knows what he's doing, but he doesn't really, he doesn't care if he doesn't care that the beer doesn't travel far outside of Whistler. He doesn't make it happen. So
Yeah.
all the beer, you have to go right to the source to drink it. He makes some really interesting beers, really nice beers. Then obviously you got Whistler Brewing, which is a big company that's been there for a long time, and they're a big part of the scene. But then the new one there too, Coast Mountain. I mean, Kevin at Coast Mountain is doing some great stuff.
Yeah.
It's a really nice space, really nice, cute. I don't mean cute. That's the wrong word. Really nice little space.
Kick ass.
In Function Junction there, which is the great funky neighborhood there just outside the central part of Whistler. So I think it's a cool little beer scene. And I've heard a lot of people talking about Coast Mountain, really connecting with the local community. So I think that's great.
Yeah.
And Squamish, you mentioned Squamish. Suddenly, after years of just having Howe Sound, which has been a great spot, Howe Sound's been, an awesome spot to visit for a long time. But with the brew pub and Hotel Connected and all that,
Yeah.
but then suddenly they have these two new breweries that opened last year and early this year, whatever it was, and that scene is going great. I mean, A-Frame is got a nice vibe to it and some good beers, and Backcountry is just rocking it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Backcountry is gorgeous. The night I went there was just jammed to the rafters, and I managed to sneak a spot at that big communal table and chatting with people. It turns out I'm sitting next to the guy who runs the sky ride up the Chief,
Sea to Sky Gondola.
Yeah, the Sea to Sky gondola, and then across from him is someone from tourism, and it was totally random. Like they weren't trying to sell me on anything or whatever, but it was great. Just super
awesome.
well connected, and just beers are great there. The food was great, and the vibe. I mean, people were lining up to get in and lining up to buy the pizza, and it's just it's wonderful to see that kind of success right out of the gates like that.
And that place is beautiful too. I love the fact where the washrooms are, they made it look like a backcountry cabin. And they've got the lanterns and everything. It looks like you're in the backcountry, even though you're in the middle of a friggin' just multi-strata warehouse.
Yeah, exactly. It's true. They've really managed to turn that whole warehouse into it's like a big warehouse, but then they got the separate tasting room space and, like you said, the cabin feel where the bathrooms are and everything. They've done a great job of it. Yeah.
Totally agree.
Cool. I've actually never been to Squamish, so you guys are totally selling me on this being my next spot to go visit because that sounds awesome.
It is. And go up to Whistler too, because the scene, you can just do, even if you don't want to stay overnight in Whistler, like if it's too expensive or whatever, just go up for the afternoon and go to the brew pub for lunch or something and stop at Coast Mountain. And then Squamish is a great place to stay overnight. Lots of stuff to do around there.
Yeah. Well, Chelsea, here. Next year we'll go backpacking in Squamish and we'll hit the breweries.
Nice. That'll be really good. Yeah, I would love to do that. Scott, when Scott, my boyfriend, lived in Vancouver, he went to Squamish every weekend. Yeah. It's funny. I've never been in my entire life, and people keep saying, "Go to Squamish." I'm like, "Yeah, for sure." But then, it seems like, the Vancouver Island. There's always something that kind of comes up, right? But that definitely has got to be on my list. And the breweries there, I'd probably go if it wasn't for the breweries, but now there's an extra draw to go visit.
Well,
so
I was in Squamish yesterday. For hiking, but I was there.
And this
a long time since I've been there.
Oh, Steve, come on now. Go climbing or something. Jeez.
I know.
And that Sea to Sky gondola is actually really cool. It's an amazing ride.
Yeah.
I was very impressed with it. It's pretty harrowing. You go straight up and straight down and over some pretty sheer rock faces. So it's pretty cool.
Well, I mean,
you can do some hikes on top and everything. So it's nice. It's a nice day. Nice thing to do.
That Sea to Sky gondola is really cool too, because it's not just some like Whistler big company. It's designed for mountaineers, it's designed for hikers, it's designed for climbers, it's designed for backcountry skiers. It is not just for the tourism thing. It's for the locals that want to go out there and get really, really involved with nature. I think they've been working on building a downhill mountain bike park. It's not just some kind of multinational that's putting up this ski resort or something. It's a real backcountry resort. It's kind of neat.
Yeah.
Just speaking as a climber, they've opened up access to crags that were really cool, but nobody went to because you had to hike up a bloody mountain to get to them.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they're visible and they're being developed and there are new routes being found. It's just from that perspective, it's amazing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, last year I hiked up to the base of the glacier at Sky Pilot. It used to be a full day, horrible grind up, really alder ridden logging road, and now it's take the gondola up, and it's a hard hike still, but it's not a terrible nasty hike. It's doable.
And now there are 3 breweries at the bottom.
Yes.
Well, they actually have beer at the top too. They have a restaurant up there, and they serve the local. At least they have Howe Sound right now, and I think they're going to have all the breweries up there eventually. So.
And it's a nice patio. Really nice patio.
It is. It's amazing views. I mean, it's just gorgeous up there. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really, really pretty area.
Mm-hmm. And we added North Vancouver too, and the scene in North Van is great. Bridge is. I was blown away when I stopped in at Bridge after I was in Squamish last time, and they've got the taco thing going. They've got I walked in, and it was about half an hour after they opened, like 11:30 or something like that, and it was pretty quiet. There weren't many people there, and I was just kind of checking it out, trying to decide what I wanted to have, and suddenly there was a huge lineup, and I was suddenly the 15th person in line. It was crazy. And I was, I got to get in here. Before I don't want to be half an hour before I get anything here. So, and then it was just busy the whole rest of the hour that I was there. So yeah, they've got it going too. And Hearthstone is Hearthstone has a beautiful restaurant there. I mean, it's the old Taylor's Crossing Brew Pub that they've kind of remodeled everything in there, but it's really nice. And Hearthstone does some cool beers, some interesting eclectic beers, and
the cool hand
really
cube.
Nice to see.
I love that one.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, and they've got a new brewery coming too, so that's just going to add to it.
Oh yeah, what's the new one?
Beer Brewing Company.
Oh right.
Yes. But it's actually the family name, so it makes sense.
So it could be good. We never know, right?
Yeah, don't know yet.
It's like the new one, and another one in the works in New Westminster called Another Beer Co.
I love that actually.
They're really close to right.
I love the play on the fact that the beer industry is exploding, right? So just another beer co is awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe it's pass me another beer.
That's a good one too.
Where can people find the BC Ale Trail online?
Well, you go to bcaletrail.ca, and that'll get you there, and you can track down everything we have to offer there. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. We're very active on Instagram and Facebook and all that. So, yeah, and look for us at events, and maybe you can plan your next vacation around an itinerary that we've laid out for you, and try something new.
I know I have. I guess
Good.
Where can people find you as well online?
Well, I'm the Thirsty Writer, so I've got thirstywriter.com, or is it thirstywriter.ca? I should check. One of those two. I think it's both. Anyway, no, it is both. It is both. That's right. I know what it is. Why I was confused. It's because Craft Beer Revolution is just .ca. That's right. So, yeah, my book, Craft Beer Revolution: The Insider's Guide to BC Breweries. I know I said it was out of date, but it's still really good. Still has lots of good info in it.
It does, yes.
Important. Not just, doesn't have the newest breweries in it, but lots of background info. So hopefully I'll find a few months to make a new edition sometime soon. I don't know when, but I'm too busy with other projects at this point.
I don't blame you.
Yeah. So that's me, Thirsty Writer. Thanks a lot.
Well, thanks for joining us, Joe. It's been a while since you've been on.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Yeah, thanks, Joe.
Great to talk to you guys again.
Thanks for tuning in again. You can find us socially at Pacific Beer Chat on Twitter and Instagram. And you can also find us on your favorite podcast service, including iTunes, Apple Podcast, Google Play Music, Stitcher, and YouTube. We're also found at pacificbeerchat.com and on the Hopped Up Network at hoppedupnetwork.com. Cheers.